Hi. Okay. I'm Ariel Levy. I'm a staff writer at The New Yorker, and it's my pleasure to welcome you. Oh! Okay, we are rocking. I'm very happy to welcome you to the 26th Annual New Yorker Festival. Okay, so Christopher Guest is, of course, a director, actor, and musician. His films include Waiting for Guffman, Best in Show, For Your Consideration, Mascots, and of course, this is Spinal Tap, and now Spinal Tap 2. The end continues, and he has been the recipient of a Grammy Award and an Emmy Award, and that's just the least of it. What I want to know is, were you always a shapeshifter? Like, did you do voices and characters as a kid, 3 blocks from here?
It started tonight, weirdly.
It just came over you?
No, I think when I was a kid, I started to do that on my own. I would look out the window. I grew up on Waverly Place, which is really just there. And I would watch people walking, and then I would imitate the way they walked. And then if my parents took us to a restaurant, I would imitate the people that were in the restaurant. And so whatever that's called, I mean, it could be called, let's put him in a special place. But here I am. But that's how that started. It was like hearing music. It was the same as music to me, to imitate someone's voice. And then eventually I was doing some music, and in a specific context usually. So.
Do you remember like your first character? Do you have a first character you did?
I don't, no.
But you did ventriloquism.
I did ventriloquism without knowing what I was doing. I was in school, and I was not interested, apparently, in school. I went to the Little Red Schoolhouse, which is there, and then I went to PS41, the old PS41, which was built in 1867. And then they tore it down, and they took our class around to 11th Street, and what's the playground was where the old building was, and it was a Dickensian building. But I would do what I thought was ventriloquism in the class and make sounds that looked like someone else was making them, as any great student does. So I... Why? Why? And the teacher, this is in the 3rd grade, would look around and blame the kid next to me and say, "Anthony, get out in the hall." And his name wasn't even Anthony, which was the worst part about it. And I mean, it's sad. Saying this now is odd, you know, but it's true. It is true. So I would do that. I would do various other things, and then it turned into me actually doing some ventriloquism on television and doing it in a movie. I think it's in Best in Show. I do a thing. And then finding out, after I had done Best in Show, finding out that a relative 250 years ago in England was a ventriloquist.
Oh, wow.
And in his diary it said, I make sounds for the family, and everything I did as a kid. And it was kind of chilling to think that this is in 1790s. And so that was interesting. I don't know what that means, but thank you for coming. Yeah. Because what else do you have to know?
Yeah, that's about it. But tell us about, your father was English. Tell us about, you had an English life too, right? You would go to London every summer?
Well, we would go, my dad was English. He worked at the United Nations, and we would go over there a lot and do time in England, in London specifically. And so there was a bit of a schizo thing, yeah.
Did you feel as at home there as you did here?
Yes, I still do.
You still do?
Yeah.
And the sounds, the accents?
Well, my dad it didn't sound the way, I do this in Spinal Tap. I play a character that's from the East End, basically, and that's a very different, my dad didn't speak that way, but it was appropriate for the film when we did it.
How does your dad sound?
You know.
Uh-huh. Okay. And this is my last childhood question. Mary of Peter, Paul, and Mary was your babysitter, right?
Oh, that was a good reaction. Wow. Meanwhile, I can't see anything. This is crazy. Yes, Mary Travers was my babysitter. She was about 14.
Oh, wow.
And I think I was younger, hopefully, because that would have been really a weird job then. And long blonde hair, very beautiful, and my family knew their family, and yes, that's true.
What kind of music were they into? What was the music in your house like?
Oh, well, my family listened to a lot of different kinds of music. Classical music, Ella Fitzgerald, some jazz as well, a mixture of a lot of different things.
Uh-huh.
And I think that also laid the groundwork for my interest in different kinds of music, which I still have. You know.
Tell us about Ziggy Muldoon.
Yeah.
This is his first band, right? The first one.
Well, I went to a school called the High School of Music and Art up in Harlem, which is now called the same person. What is the... which is now, I think, the LaGuardia School, I think it's called now. And it was a school, you either were an artist or you took an exam, you auditioned to be a musician or whatever. And I didn't like that. That was not a good match for me. But there were some really gifted people. Michael Kamen was an oboist, and he said we should just play other kinds of music. And there was a band called Ziggy Muldoon. This was 1962 or 3. And it was a conglomerate of a lot of different instruments. And we had one gig. The gig was scheduled for November 22nd, 1963.
Huh.
It's true, yeah. And I, very excited, went up to the place, the venue, which was the Pierre Hotel, I believe, thinking, why not? This is probably still on. And I show up there, and there's a ballroom, and there's nobody there. There's a guy, doing this. Can I help you? Yeah, I'm here for the thing. And he just gave me that look, which is, do you have a television, or do you? And it's a strange thing, but anyway, so we never actually played other than out in front of Music and Art.
But at that point, were you already feeling pretty serious about music? Did you feel like
I was feeling serious about anything except what they were doing at Music and Art, yes.
Uh-huh.
I was, yeah.
Why, what was so bad? What was the like at Music and Art?
Well, it was very strict, and they were big orchestras that you were placed in, and strict old people that wanted to tell you exactly how to do everything. And I was actually saying earlier to a friend that you were in an orchestra, and we were playing some piece. I was a clarinet player, and playing, looking around, and the old conductor person came over and said, you're not reading. I said, well, I know the piece. I've read the piece. I can read the music. But he said, you have to keep reading it. I said, but I know it. And that was, This is making me look bad, because the thing is, I obviously had a problem with authority figures or something. I don't know.
Tell us about what happened in your musical life at Bard.
No reaction. What this is. Now I'm let down. I went to Bard for 1 year, and I was in a bluegrass band there. And we would go to this little venue they had there, which is where Steely Dan were also playing. Before they were Steely Dan, they were 4 years older than I was, and that was just. Didn't know them. I knew a person that knew them, but I didn't know them. Yeah. That's that story. I have to write that down because I want to tell that to other people. So I just use my phone as a... That'll be fun.
But didn't you also play music with Arlo Guthrie there?
I'm sorry, I missed that. What?
Didn't you also play music with Arlo Guthrie at Bard?
No, that was at Stockbridge School in Massachusetts.
Oh, okay.
So I wanted to go away. I lived here, but I wanted to really be in the country. And I did get to go to a school in Stockbridge, Massachusetts, and Arlo Guthrie was there before he was well known. And I went up to him, and I had listened to Woody Guthrie records for years, and I couldn't believe this was a connection to him. And I said to Arlo, hi, I'm coming to the school. He had already been there. I said, I play the guitar. And he gave me this withering look. And he said, well, I play the guitar. But he said, I'll tell you what. And he went, he disappeared, and he came back, and it was a little case, and he opened it, and he said, this is Woody's mandolin. You can play that. I, being the scientist that I was, thought I was going to catch Huntington's disease from playing the mandolin. So I was back in my dorm room thinking, oh, well, now I've done it, because I touched the strings of this old Gibson mandolin. But I ended up playing with Arlo at some gigs, yeah.
So what pushes you towards comedy? How do you go from music to comedy?
Oh, maybe it was always the same thing. I don't really know. Yeah, I have a friend here, David Nickturn, who I played with in a band called Voltaire's Nose, which was in '67 or '8. And he would probably know the answer to that better than I would, because we played fraternity gigs in these weird places all around the city, but I don't think I was doing anything goofy then, was I? Or maybe I was, I don't know. Oh, yeah, well, we started playing when we were probably 13 or 14, but I honestly can't answer that, I don't know. But it eventually became clear to me when I started working at the Lampoon, the first year the Lampoon started, we were doing records and I was writing songs with Sean Kelly, and that clearly this was something I was going to do, that I was going to be able to do both of these things together.
And then when you move out to Los Angeles and start working for Lily Tomlin, what do you learn doing that? What does that do?
I don't know.
Okay.
Let me think about that.
Okay, we'll talk about it later.
No, not actually,
Okay.
literally.
We'll
no.
never talk about it again.
No.
Okay.
No, that was a call out of the blue. This was a call saying, would I work with her? And she was a very big person then, still is. And I went out and worked with her and wrote some music that was on her show, and I was on the show with her, and it was a new thing for me because I had never done television, so that was a thing.
And you meet Rob Reiner doing an episode of All in the Family.
Yes, I played in a flashback in All in the Family. I play a double date, and me and another woman were double date with Rob and Sally
Struthers.
Yeah. And that's how I met Rob Reiner. That was 77 or 8, maybe. 77?
I don't know.
No, I know.
I just met you.
You probably know, because you seem to know more than anybody here.
Did you feel immediately from the same comedy?
Well, I think it's the same
tribe?
in music. I think if you sit with a musician, you know instantaneously if there's a shared sensibility and it's happening or it's not happening. And it's the same in comedy. You get a sense very fast are we on the same wavelength, basically. And we were.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
And when and how do you come up with the character and the name Nigel Tufnell?
That was at the Lampoon in the 70s. Yeah, I did a record, one of the records we did, and I was that. And then in 79, I did a tour with Lenny and the Squigtones, and that was my character's name.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. Yeah.
Michael McKean from playing
Right.
Lenny
Right.
on Laverne and Shirley.
Correct. Yes, it all starts to merge into a thing. Yeah. Yeah.
And how do you guys get going with Spinal Tap, your first movie? How does that come to be?
We did a television show, and in the television show, a little segment of it was a band that we had created to be on a parody of the Midnight Special, which was a rock and roll show in the 70s, I guess. And we called ourselves Spinal Tap, and we did a song, and that was the beginning. And then we thought this might be good to do again in some fashion. And so several years later, we did the film.
Were there other names you considered for the band?
Yes, I have them written down at home. Seriously, I wrote from one of the writing sessions, and I wrote them all these names, and on it is Spinal Tap, but there were other names, but I can't remember what they are right now. But they weren't that good, I don't think.
So it's just as well that you can't remember.
Well, I don't. It's all. It could have been good or not because it was what it was. So I don't know. Yeah.
All right. Well, let's watch a clip from Spinal Tap, and then we'll talk more about it. I hope.
Your first drummer was
the Peeper. John Stumpy Pepys. Oh, yeah. Great, tall blonde geek with glasses.
Yeah. Good drummer.
Great look, good drummer.
Good drummer.
Fine.
What happened to him?
He died. He died in a bizarre gardening accident some years back.
It's really one of those things. It was, the authorities said, best leave it
It's not
unsolved, really.
And he was replaced by.
Stumpy Joe. Eric Stumpy Joe Childs.
And what happened to Stumpy Joe?
Well, it's not a very pleasant story, but
he
he died. He choked on. The official explanation was he choked on vomit.
It was
passed away.
It was actually someone else's vomit. It's not.
Ugly.
There's no real.
Well, they can't prove whose vomit it was. They don't have facilities in Scotland
no way
Yard to
You
print.
can't really
photographing.
dust for vomit.
I've heard you say that you found his wig in a box of wigs on the street.
Yes. Well, it wasn't just a random box on the street. I went looking with a hair person, and I don't mean that like an alien hair person. I mean a person who does hair for films. And we went looking, and there was this box, and I think they were a few dollars, and this one, and she picked it out. It was fake. It wasn't real hair. And then she cut it on my head to be that. That's what that was.
I see. So it's not like you picked it out of a pile of rubbish. You were looking for wigs when you found the wig.
Thanks for the backup. That was, wow. It was a sad-ass box of wigs on the street. It wasn't garbage, no. I don't know how
All right,
else.
I'll let it go.
Okay, good.
Okay.
Good.
Okay, we'll move on. Okay, how does it go? Tell me about the experience of making this movie and it picking up speed to the point where it's no longer a joke. You're out touring and going to Glastonbury and the Royal Albert Hall, and there's fans shaking your limo and like girls with flashing their boobs. Like, what, right? Didn't that happen?
Yes. Well, we're musicians, and then we're doing this thing, and so we went out. We actually did some gigs before the movie came out at clubs, and we thought, I wonder if they're going to be able to tell that this is not, and nobody could tell anything because we were just doing what we did. But, so it was just us now going on the road and doing a lot of touring and playing these Carnegie Hall, all these venues all over the world, and Wembley, and that was what that turned into. And then it became its own thing, and there would be people backstage waiting for us in various states of undress, shall we say, which was puzzling because we knew who we were. We were those people. It was a schizophrenic sort of thing. We just done a concert, people yelling or whatever, and then we'd go backstage, and we were looking forward to going out to dinner, just doing that and going out to dinner, and there were half-naked people there. And we, over the years, would think, what are they thinking? What, do they not know, or do they think And it really was a question we would ask seriously because we never really did know what that was, except if they thought they were now in the movie, but it never was a successful thing. I don't know. It was just anyway. So.
And you get to the point where you're playing gigs where you're with people who are so big that they're playing along to tracks, right? And so it's like the joke band is the only one who's serious.
Well,
who's playing.
the crazy thing was that we did a gig once where it was a charity thing, and the other two groups were, the opener was Chaka Khan, the second was us, and then it was Michael Bolton. And this is true, this is a real event. So I went over to watch Chaka Khan, and in the middle of a song, all the sound cuts out, the band cuts out, because she's playing to a track. So she has musicians on stage that are miming to the record. She is furious, and it keeps cutting out. It goes in and out, in and out. No one in the audience is even bothered by this. Nothing. I kept thinking, well, no one's booing and saying, why don't you play, or whatever. And then we're playing, but we're really playing in half an hour from then. We're actually playing, and the irony of that, obviously, was strange. You know. This is off subject. Do they have popcorn here, or do they only have soft drink kind of things?
Are you hungry?
No, it's what I'm looking at. I'm looking at the snack bar, so it's, now what?
Okay, now,
Yeah.
How about, let's see if this, yeah, okay. The form, that I'm not gonna say mockumentary, because I know you don't like that term, but it's doing satires of documentaries. Obviously, you become a master of this form. What is it? Well, what do you mean?
I mean, just what I did. I did this. That means this.
All right. You don't think your movies are pretty funny?
I do. I decided that I liked working in the form that we did Spinal Tap in, and so I did a series of films after that, A Mighty Wind and Best in Show and other movies that were done in the same form.
Yeah.
Which is hard to explain, but that's its own thing. So.
But can we talk about what you like about the form?
Yes.
Awesome. When? No.
You see? My thought before I came on here and talking with Ariel was that we should flip this and I should interview her. And seriously, because she's a wonderful writer and how that would be very interesting to hear about what she does. I've talked about what I do over the years, but she didn't like that idea.
I don't think
if
people
anyone
would
did,
be.
it wouldn't be me anyway.
Who would it be?
Well, we talked about that.
Right, well, I didn't, yeah.
Okay, but I wasn't being facetious. I think that would interest me.
More than this experience.
No, this is what it is, yeah. So I think I've explained this before, or tried to talk about this. This is very much like music to me. Improvisation in comedy is music because you're playing with a band, you're playing and listening to the other people, and you're not all soloing at the same time. You can sense when someone is going to do that, and you're laying out for as long as you have to lay out or not. And that was very musical to me. And it seems that a lot of these people who do this are musicians as well, which is interesting. It's a separate thing, but Michael McKean and Harry and Jane Lynch and John Michael Higgins, and I can name a lot of people, and Eugene Levy, are very musical people. And so there was sort of an overlap, I think.
Well, and also, didn't you have, like, part of what you love about improv is that remembering the lyrics didn't work for you? You'd have to look up lyrics and write them on your hand and stuff?
Well, I can't remember lines. I did theater here in New York for a while, and it was really difficult for me to remember lines, even when I was a young person. And up until we just did a concert in London about a month ago, and it became a running joke, but there was one song we sang, a song I wrote, which I couldn't remember the words to. And it was now a thing. It was a bit of a thing. So my guitar tech would write down on a piece of white paper the first line of the song. And then once I saw that, then I could remember the song. And it's a different thing than improvising, memorizing something. Very different, yeah.
Do you not like the mockumentary term just because it sounds stupid, or you don't think you're mocking anyone?
Both.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, no, seriously, both. I think, yeah, both. Yeah.
Can we see the clip from Waiting for Guffman, please?
Oh.
From the parlor to the ballroom, everyone knows our name.
Script is it.
Oh, sorry. No, true. You will. Oh, we're gonna practice sound, never breathing, working.
I don't want to interfere, but I think it would be. I think we have to work.
I can't hear you.
I think we have to work on the music a little bit more, but
Fine.
I don't want to make trouble. So, and I don't really want to do this in front of them, but
Where do you want to do it?
Well, I think we have to sit down and make a schedule that includes some music time, because I think Gene and I have to
Why are you
work.
whispering? I'm right here, you know? I don't
Oh,
have
I'm
to...
sorry. Do you want me to talk louder? Because I think that
Well, now
it
it's
would be
too loud. You know, just talk like a normal person, okay? I think what they were doing was good. Well,
to me, you
yes,
rehearse, you rehearse.
You
You get
rehearse.
it perfect. You know exactly what you're doing,
And then what?
you forget about it.
Let me
Job.
pinpoint you. You said they learn it, they forget it, and that's okay.
That's great,
Well, they've forgotten it.
but they never learned it. So when do they learn it? I'm just saying, when do we have it?
But what I'm saying is, if they're going to forget it anyway, then what difference does it make? I mean, you see what I mean? It's just like, it's like one of
No,
those.
no,
it's like a.
please. Maybe
It's
I
like
can
a. It's a Zen thing. It's like, you know, how many babies fit in the tire thing? The old joke, you know.
No, you have a point. It's an interesting point.
Do you think anger is the funniest feeling? Indignation?
Yes, I think it's the main thing. I think now I forgot. Yes, it's the main thing. Anger. It's part of it. It's part of it. But there are a lot of. It's like anything. It's a lot of different things. That scene, which I haven't seen this movie since I made this movie.
Wow.
I haven't seen it again. I know I made it because it's there, but I see it. But that scene was always one of my favorite scenes because Balaban is unbelievable actor and great improviser, and the sort of battle between those two types was so fraught with just, this is not going to work. It just was, you could do that forever, basically.
How much of that scene was improvised?
All of it, every
All
word.
of it.
Oh yeah.
So what do your screenplays look like?
Hey, you're mad now.
No, I'm not.
Fuck. Whoa.
See how funny anger is?
When you do it, yes.
Thank you.
Hey, wait a minute. Yep. This isn't the last time we're going to be doing this.
No?
Nope. We're going to be going on the road with this little...
I can't wait.
Okay. Yes, the process of this is that in the case of this, Eugene Levy and I spent 6 months writing the story out. Each scene is delineated, each character, their whole background, where they went to school, everything about the person. The music was obviously written before. I wrote the music with Michael McKean and Harry Shearer for Waiting for Guffman. And then when you're on the set, you do it. There's no rehearsal. So that is just, now we're doing this.
Do you know why you choose the worlds you choose to satirize or investigate or whatever?
Well, in this case, yes, I do. Yes, in this case, I'd gone to see a friend of mine's daughter in a play. She was in junior high school, and they were doing Oklahoma, which shouldn't be happening. Arguably, it shouldn't be happening for anyone, but these were 13, 14-year-old people doing this, a kind of cut-down version of this musical. And there was something charming, and they brought out the director, who was in sobbing. They came out with roses, and the impression was this was the biggest thing that had ever happened in the theater, in the history of the theater. And I was taken by that and the idea of putting in a small town people who take themselves very seriously, and this is the biggest thing for them. And the head of that Corky St. Clair, whose vision this is apparently, also thinks this is his big break. They're going to go to Broadway, and I found that very compelling in this case. And in the dog world, I was walking my dog. It was a rescue dog, and a woman had a fancy dog in this dog park, and she looked at me with this real chilling disdain, and she said, "What's that?"
Ha!
I said, "That's Henry. That's Henry the dog." "I mean, what is it?" I said, "Well, he's a rescue dog. It's a mix of..." And she looked, and the look was, "I'm so sorry for you because you don't have a purebred dog." And I thought, on the walk home from that park, I thought, this is deep, because this felt really big even though it seemed like it was just a dog thing, it felt much bigger than that. And so the world of this thing where people have these dog shows, I thought that was a thing, and I called up Eugene and I said, "This is my next idea." And he said, "No, it's not. I'm not doing that. What are you talking about?" And it took him a while to kind of come to the thing, but then we had fun doing that eventually. Yeah.
How are you in the scene and directing it at the same time? Like, how do you do that?
Yeah, well, in the Guffman film, there was one camera. It was Super 16, which they don't use much anymore. And I was trying to explain, so I was in a scene with Eugene. I was trying to explain to the cameraman, I said, we're going to be just, there are no lines, but we're going to be talking. And he didn't know what to do. And I said, here's what we're going to do. I'm going to put my foot on your foot. And when I tap the foot, that means you go to the other person. Very much like Star Wars or Mission Impossible situation, where similar technique going on. And I actually did that. So it's a scene where he wears his glasses, and I say, you shouldn't wear your glasses. And I'm now tapping, which means, because I know if I'm directing this, how that's going to work.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, so, but then it got more sophisticated after that, you know. No, it didn't. It didn't. Actually.
One thing I was really struck by in the new movie, in the sequel, in The End Continues, is that Nigel turns into this kind, gentle, poignant person. Can you talk for a minute about, well, he's become such a wife guy, and or maybe it's his girlfriend, but he's crazy about his partner,
right.
He's crazy about his cheese. How did you decide to make him go gentle like that?
Well, I don't know if you'll get to see this. It'll be on a streamer thing soon, I guess. The second movie, if you haven't seen it. But it's I thought he'd had enough of London, and he moves to the north of England, right on the border of Scotland. He's met this woman who he falls in love with, and they have a little cottage, and they have a cheese shop, and he also sells guitars and cheese, and.
We actually have a clip of the cheese and guitar shop.
Okay, well, I didn't. Okay. Anyway, I thought this is who he is now. He plays music at home. He plays in a pub. He does what he does, but he's just a gentle guy. He's not that's who the person is, really.
Please show us the cheese shop, the Spinal Tap 2 clip.
How do you make your life after rock and roll? Cheese.
That's odd, because you normally wouldn't think the rock and roll, now cheese.
Yeah.
You wouldn't think those.
Maybe not, but for me it was.
And
yes.
then I see over there you have a number of guitars.
Yeah.
And you sell both?
Yes and no. Sometimes people come in with a guitar,
yeah,
see, and they trade for cheese.
Really?
Yeah.
So
and
let's
sometimes
say...
it's the opposite. Sometimes people come in with cheese.
Yeah.
It goes both ways. What I do is I go like this because I trust my hands more than a scale. I go like this.
Yeah.
Then I go like this. Let's say
Yeah.
close.
Yeah.
Very close.
So a half a wheel of that
Trade
cheese
it.
would buy you that
Trade it.
that
Trade
base.
it. Everyone's happy. The thing about cheese is actually a real thing. I do
You love cheese.
I do love cheese, good cheese. And my wife and I were living in London for a period, and I was walking through London, and I came upon a very famous cheese shop. And they had a sign in the window. It's called Neal's Yard. It's a very famous cheese shop. It said, "Help wanted." And I walked in, and the cheesemonger said, "Oh, you've got to try this. It's unbelievable. This is unbelievable. It just came in yesterday. Da, 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 da. Oh, and this as well." And he's cutting off these little slices. And this moment, real moment of, maybe I should take that sign down and do this. And I thought, I thought about it. I didn't, but it was a real thought of, this would make me very happy working in this little shop, and then it shows up in this movie. Yeah.
The premise of the movie is that they get called, they get sort of lured back into playing.
Well, they're not
after,
lured. It's a contractual
Right.
thing. They're owed a concert in the film. The band is owed a concert to that, and their manager died, and now the manager's daughter is doing this. So we have to do this show against our will. And so we hadn't seen each other in 15 years. Yeah, that's the basis for the new film. Yeah.
Well, and as I was watching, I was thinking, you have described yourself as being sort of semi-retired. Tell us about, and you were kind of lured back into making a movie with this. Yeah. Tell us about your life as like an outdoorsman, which is what it sounds like your retirement's about, music.
Well, I've been doing that my whole life. I've been spending a lot of time in the outdoors, and I still do. That's just a few weeks ago. I was in the wilderness in Wyoming, and I do these trips with a friend. And that's always been a draw for me, ever since I was a kid. But this one, we spent years debating whether we had a story that we all thought was enough of a story worthwhile to do, because it takes a lot of time. And we thought we did, I guess, because we did it, but it was not a quick decision, you know.
And in the movie, you play music with Paul McCartney, you play music with Elton John.
Yep.
So what's it like as a musician playing, like looking up and being like, oh, I'm playing with a Beatle?
Yeah.
Sorry, I don't mean to sound so angry.
It's not an insignificant thing for someone of my generation, especially, I guess. It doesn't compute, really, you know, to be sitting there and playing, and you're in a movie and you're playing with Paul McCartney or with Elton John. In the case of Elton John, it was a big stadium and it was filled with people, and we're doing a concert. And it's surreal, completely surreal, and but it's happening, I guess. So it's, you know, yeah.
Can you tell, like, with just playing that little bit with Paul McCartney, can you experience the virtuosity like that? Can you tell you're playing with someone who's extra good? Like, is there something that separates?
Well, there's something, obviously, with those two people who are iconic people in music for the last 50 years or more. It's a huge thing. It transcends music. It transcends everything. It's bigger than that. It's much bigger than that. You know, and it's not as if they're, oh wow, that guy can play fast or something. This is a person who's made 50 records, and just every song you ever heard as a kid, and, you know, it's that thing. So it's a very different thing, you know.
Is it intimidating?
It isn't. No, because we've written the music, and it's in the context of what we do, and they're playing with us, you know, and so it works in that way, I guess you'd say, you know.
And people still will say to you, oh, you really play, right?
Yes, all the time.
All the time?
Yeah, we've done huge shows, 2-hour shows, and it's happened quite a few times where someone will come back and say, were you playing? Yeah, how would that have worked? But in all fairness, a lot of bands and big shows go out, and huge number of tracks are being played from the album because they do these shows where they dance around and sing, and a lot of it is not live. And when you see the Super Bowl, it's a thing. But we've always played live. We've never done the other thing. But it happens all the time, you know. Yeah.
Okay, you ready?
What's happening now?
I'm gonna open the. I'm gonna try to open the
yeah,
iPad.
open it up.
How do you approach casting your movies?
Oh, you don't even say the person's name. It used to be.
I can't. I don't have it.
Oh no, because maybe there's some legal thing or something. How do I approach casting in movies? Oh, I sit and talk to people. Come in, and I just talk to them for about half an hour. There's no lines. There are no lines to read, so I just talk to them, and I can tell probably in 5 minutes if they can do that, which is an odd thing because how would I know? But
what's the word you use for improving with people?
Oh, I don't really.
You don't want to say?
I don't remember. No.
Okay.
Yeah.
Can I say?
No.
Okay. Okay, this is interesting. It's fascinating that you are a baron. Have you ever considered writing a mockumentary? Didn't you hear? He doesn't like it. About hereditary peers in the UK.
I forgot who this was. I'm going to ask every single person who that was. No. No, because to be in that situation is not really the cartoon of what you would think it is, that you would see. It was much more nuanced than that and more interesting than that.
I've heard you say that you have a really interesting family history on your father's side. Would you tell us anything about that? So that's a no?
No, it's not a no. I'm getting angry, so that's funny. Well, yeah, it's an interesting family because my father's family were, my grandmother was a playwright and he was a doctor, and they had this salon situation in London where H.G. Wells and Bernard Shaw and people would come over and hang out and do whatever those people would do. And that idea that you don't think about people doing that much anymore, I guess people do that, but it was a thing then in Paris and in London where people would have these groups come over and they would talk and have food, I guess, or I don't know what they were doing. But my dad would tell me about this, except that these were these kind of high-level, interesting people that were from the arts, from politics, from science, whatever. Yeah.
But then, did your parents carry that on?
Yeah, they did. They had interesting people. My dad was at the UN, and there were musicians, and there were actually cartoonists from the New Yorker came over to our house, and actors and people from other countries, and I guess I just took that for granted, but I think it was interesting and something now that would be considered somewhat unusual, but that's what it was, yeah.
But so the world of really talented artists wasn't so far away. It wasn't so high up to you if you grew up around.
No, it's true. Some people would come over, and they were just the people that came over. It wasn't an abstract thing, yeah.
So when you started your work, your career, did it feel like, oh, of course I can, those are my people, that's my world? Or was it
No.
No, okay.
No, I thought I had to do something in this realm, but I didn't know what that was. I guess I thought in some ways that what else was I going to do, I guess. I don't know what else I could have done. You know, couldn't have done mathematics.
Cheese.
I could have done cheese, maybe, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
This is a question for Corky. Where did life take you after Red, White, and Blaine? I actually know the answer to that.
Where does what take me?
Where did life take you?
Oh, I think it's in the epilogue of the movie. The Corky character is auditioning for a Broadway show. He's auditioning, I think, for My Fair Lady. He thinks he's going to play the main part in My Fair Lady. That's how deluded he is. And he's practicing his English accent. As I remember, that's where that ends up.
There's more. You put him in Mascots. He's back in Mascots, right?
Thank you.
Of the films you made, what was the most enjoyable to film?
I think Equalizer 2.
Ha!
Because there's something about revenge where you can sit in a bar, because a lot of people think that way, but they don't want to admit it. That when you see the bad guy, it goes back to him, goes back to them, and you know he's going to kick ass. Or, I've actually forgotten the question.
Which one was the most pleasurable to make?
All of them were, there was not one that was not a joy to do, truthfully. And because of the way they're done, it was great. It was fantastic. Yeah, it's not, if you're doing someone else's movie and you're a hired hand, many times it can be challenging, but this was not the case.
There was a period in your 20s where you were doing theater, isn't there? Why are you so shocked that I'm asking you a question?
Actually,
I've been doing it for an hour.
I was saying to someone today that this is probably another problem besides doing ventriloquism noises and why would you be doing that. But someone would tap me and I'd say, whoa, you know, and they'd say, I'm sorry to scare you. And I'd say, you didn't scare me, I was just pretending to be scared. And they'd look at me, why would you do that? And that's the same thing just now, yeah. Yeah.
It's like how I always see my rate.
You're very good at this. I'm serious.
Oh,
No, I've
thanks.
done this a few times, and Miss Levy is great.
You're not having a bad time? All right, good.
Yeah.
Ooh, this is a great question.
Oh,
What are... so just brace yourself. I'm going to ask
Yes.
you. Okay. What are some of your favorite documentary films? How have they influenced your work?
that's a good question.
That's a good question.
It is, because I love documentaries. I've watched more documentaries than I do other forms of films. And someone asked me to do a real documentary, and I said, I can't, because if I do that, even though I'm interested in the subject, people will assume that it's funny, or there's some, you know, thing going on here, which there wouldn't be, but so I wasn't able to do that. But I've watched a lot of documentaries and still do. I don't even know where I'd begin with seeing ones. There was one called Salesman that was a movie done in the late 60s that the Maisel brothers did. And that was one of the first that completely messed me up. I thought, this is incredible. And I got to work with Al in 1970 on a project. He was the cameraman and his brother did the sound. But there have been many. I don't know if I can come up with other names right now.
I know what I was going to ask you before. There was a period in your 20s when you were doing theater, where you were doing serious acting, right?
You said that before, right?
Did I?
Yeah.
Did I really?
Oh, yeah.
Oh my God.
I just didn't answer you, and I didn't do it intentionally. I did theater for about 5 or 6 years in New York. I did off-Broadway and Broadway, and loved it. Loved doing that. Yeah, it was great. And then I did a show for the Lampoon that we did called Lemmings, where I co-wrote the music, and we did that down in the Village here for a year.
You were there at the same time as Chevy Chase and John Belushi, is that right?
Yes, I got them in the gig, as they say. Yeah. Tony Hendra and I was a young person at the time. I was 23, I think. And we put this show together with about 3 or 4 other people. And we would go to these clubs, and I had met Chevy before, and that's how they were in Lemmings, yeah.
Did you feel like you were on the same page comedically? I mean, I guess, of course, or you wouldn't have hired them.
I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess it worked out, yeah.
Well, I don't know if you're going to go for this. What makes you laugh?
That's a great question.
Oh, great.
I was drawn to Laurel and Hardy very early on. My dad took me to see some of those movies. And Peter Sellers was a huge influence. And the biggest influence was a show called Beyond the Fringe with Peter Cook, Dudley Moore, Jonathan Miller, and Alan Bennett. And that was the turning point. That was the Rosetta Stone for me of everything, I think.
Didn't you go up to Peter Sellers once and do your Peter Sellers impression?
I don't know what that would be. What would that be? No, I was when I was 13, he had a heart attack. I think it was 13 or 14. He had several heart attacks. He had a heart attack, and it was on the news. And I was in my room here, nearby there, and I knelt at my bed. And I'd seen this in a film. People prayed, apparently. I had never prayed. No one I knew had ever prayed. And I prayed that he wouldn't die. And this is a 13-year-old kid. I was crying. I thought, this, don't do this. Don't, you know. That's a true thing. But, yeah, so I'd say Beyond the Fringe thing was the moment where I thought, this is, and it still is to this day, the 4 smartest, funniest people, period. I mean, that was it. Not even close. Not even, nobody could touch that, you know. And it wasn't as well known here, although they did it on Broadway here. Yeah.
Playing the same character 40 years later, you made, you know, the first one, you're basically an older kid, right? Like your late 20s.
Well, yeah, except when we decided to do this, well, it's not even there, this second film, we're old people. We're the people, when you look at, you know, old rockers, if you look at the Stones or the people who are still alive, and you look at pictures of them, you think, wow, that's an old, that person is so old. I wonder, whoa, that's me. Hold it a minute, wait a minute. And you look at the movie and you think, this is scary. This is really scary to see yourself as a young person and then see yourself as an old person, because internally I don't feel that way. You know, I still run around and do what I do. So.
If the you who made the first one could see your life and your career now, what would be surprising? What would surprise them about the way things are for you now?
I don't know.
Okay.
It's a good question, but I don't know. I didn't think I would be doing any of this. I really didn't. I didn't know if someone had said, what do you want to do? And there are many people who have a dream, they have a goal, they say, I want to be able to do this. I never had that. Things just sort of weirdly fell into some place where I got to do some great things that were fun. There were some really fun things and work with some great people. So that, but it wasn't, I hope one day make movies or something. It wasn't that.
It's just the way the cookie crumbled.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
You guys, we did it. We're at 0. It's all zeros. It's all zeros. Thank you so much for doing this.
Thank you.
It was a real pleasure.
You're great at this. Thank you all for coming.